most trustless name in news.
Well, nobody expected a big Bitcoin crash right before Bitcoin's big event. We are just days away from Bitcoin's favorite holiday, the halving. Yet the markets are looking the most exhausted we've seen in a long time. So what is going to happen after this halving? Will things happen like they have in the past and the markets explode? Or is this time different? We'll find out in about 10 minutes because it's time for Chico Crypto. Well, my friends, we're going to look at this from every angle and figure out exactly where Bitcoin's price should be post-halving. 1 month after the halving, 6 months after the halving, and exactly 1 year after this event. First, we need to understand that this halving is different. So why is it different? Well, of course, Bitcoin has surpassed its previous cycle's all-time high before the halving occurred, and this has never happened in the past cycles. The previous all-time high for Bitcoin was above $69,000, and this occurred November 10th. As many of us know, Bitcoin broke through this all-time high, breaking through last month in March. An official break came March 12th. A break over 1 month before the halving. This did not happen in the past. It always came far after the halving. The last Bitcoin halving occurred in May of 2020, and as we can see, the Bitcoin price was pushing to 10K pre-halving, the pre-halving pump. The previous all-time high was almost 20K set back in December of 2017. So Bitcoin had to pump by 100% to break through the old all-time high. This pump, the actual break, didn't come until months later. December of 2020, it finally happened. Not before the halving, but 7 months after. A very similar thing happened in the halving before this. This one occurred July of 2016. And as we can see, prior to this, Bitcoin was pushing up towards $800 before the halving, its pre-halving pump. The previous all-time high was about 1.2K, set back in December of 2013. Even at $800 set before the halving, Bitcoin had to pump by 50% to break the previous all-time high. That pump and the all-time high break once again didn't come until months later, February of 2017 to be exact. So once again, not before the halving, but 7 months after. So does this mean we could possibly have 7 months of sideways chop and even downwards markets? The official re-break won't come until 7 months down the road? Bitcoin won't push back past 73K until November of this year? Well, you could think that, but when you do a deeper analysis, this likely won't happen because Bitcoin is right on track to where it should be. What do I mean? Well, first, let's take a look at the price action of Bitcoin 1 year before these pre-halving pumps in the last 2 cycles. 1 year before the pre-halving pump of 2020, where Bitcoin pushed up towards 10K, the price was actually at about 5K. So 1 year before the pre-halving pump, the Bitcoin price pumped by 100%. 1 year before the July 2016 pre-halving pump, where Bitcoin pushed up towards $800, the price was at about $300. Thus, 1 year before this pre-halving pump, the Bitcoin price jumped by 166%. So what has happened 1 year before this halving's pre-pump? Well, as we know, the pre-pump set us at 73K just a month ago. Well, guess what? The price in March of 2023 was at about 20K. Thus, 1 year before this pre-halving pump, the Bitcoin price rose by 160%. Bitcoin is almost smack dab right where it should be based on pumps from previous cycles, about 1 year before the halving. I bet you no other YouTubers are looking at it like this, but of course, Chico is. You can even see similarities like this when looking at smaller time frames of these pre-halving pumps. Remember, the pre-halving pump peak of last cycle happened May 7th, 2020, and the price hit around 10K. 1 month before this peak, April 7th of 2020, the price was about 7,200. Thus, 1 month before this pre-halving peak, the price jumped by 38%. What about the cycle before this? Well, the pre-halving peak happened June 15th, 2016, and the price was pushing up towards 800. 1 month before this, May 15th, 2016, the price was at about 455 bucks. Thus, 1 month before this pre-halving peak, the price pumped by 72%. What is happening this time around? Oh, well, the pre-halving peak came March 13th, and the price just crossed 73K. 1 month before this, February 13th, the price was just under 50K. Thus, 1 month before the pre-halving peak, Bitcoin pumped by 56%. Once again, Bitcoin is pumping just like previous cycles. There are pre-halving similarities on multiple scales, 1 year before and even 1 month before. So now that we understand this, let's look into the future. What is going to happen 1 month after the Bitcoin halving? So in the last cycle, the halving happened on this day, May 11th of 2020, and the price fell from the pre-halving peak down to 8,500 on the day of the halving. 1 month after, June 11th, 2020, the price was at about $9,850. This was a pump of about 16% 1 month post-halving. What happened in 2016? Well, this halving occurred July 9th of 2016, and the price fell from the pre-halving peak to about $650. August 9th, the price didn't pump, it actually dipped down to 593 bucks. Thus, it crashed by about 9%. Based on what happened in the 2 previous cycles, anything can happen over the next month. There could be a dip, there could be a pump. So I'm going in the middle. I have a feeling the price for the month post-halving, it's going to chop around, up and then down. And finally, once we make it through this tough month, the price is going to start moving and grooving. 6 months post-halving, let's move on to that. In 2020, the price was about 8,500 May 11th. 6 months later, November 11th, 2020, the price pumped all the way to $15,700, a pump of 85%. In 2016, the price was at 650 bucks July 9th on the day of the halving. 6 months later, January 9th, 2017, the price pumped all the way to 1,130, a pump of 73%. So if we take the average of these two, we get a pump of 79%. And if on the halving day, Bitcoin is at 62K, that would mean 6 months from April 19th, October 19th, the Bitcoin price will be at $111,000. Although, what about 1 year from the halving? Well, from the last cycle, May 11th, 2020, the price was $8,500. 1 year later, May 11th, 2021, the price pumped to $55K. That means the price pumped by 547% 1 year after this halving. What about 2016? Well, this halving happened July 9th, and the price was 650 bucks. By July 9th, 2017, 1 year later, the price was about 2,500. Thus, 1 year after this halving, the price pumped by 285%. Now, if we take the average of these two, we get an average 1 year post-halving pump of 416%. If we apply this to 62K like we did before, that would mean the price 1 year from tomorrow, April 9th of 2025, Bitcoin would be at $320,000. I'm trying to be optimistic, bullish while the market sentiment is terrible, obviously bearish. The past can tell us a lot about what is going to happen to Bitcoin in the future. This very well could be the last Bitcoin cycle where we see parabola like this. Or maybe my analysis is completely wrong. But remember what Chico Crypto always says, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Cheers, viewers. I'll see you next time.
The most trustless name in news.